Speaking of royalty in the house, how about Golden State going back home, licking its wounds here tonight, as they're going to be taking on Sacramento. 6.5 now as this line continues to grow a little bit, 240.5 as a total. And of course, we know no Draymond. Yeah, that's right. No Draymond Green here tonight. Can they get by a game without him? There's a lot of different ways, Ralph, to approach this game here without Draymond. What say you in this matchup?
Joe, first I have to say, between you, me, and Rob, and Mr. Cabang being such a young kid, I had to laugh when he said, "Oh, this Philly total is so low." So I went to the database. 10 years ago, Philadelphia played Chicago on May the 10th. The total was 169, and the final was 79-78. Remember those days, guys, where playoff basketball meant defense?
Yeah,
all right.
Exactly.
I'm going to the database on this, guys, because it's no secret. The whole world knows that 02 NBA teams that return home have been a historical, very positive first half bet. So I wanted to address that issue here. So going back to 2005, if you bet every 0-2 team at home, you've covered 66%. Since 2015, every 0-2 team, you've covered 73.5%. That number was at like 80%. The last couple of years, it's actually, I believe, been one game under 500. But look at the line adjustment in this game. Golden State is -6 for the full game. They're -4.5 for the first half, and they're -3 for the first quarter. In fact, 2 years ago, when this system was in its heyday, I remember there were a couple of casinos that had the first quarter and the first half line bigger than the full game line. Vegas has made their adjustments, so this part of betting the game has faded away. We've lost the value in that. But I will say this, going to the database, in the playoffs, in game 3, home favorites with 0 wins like Golden State have gone 22-14, 61.1%. So while I mentioned round 1 home dogs have been very bad, like Brooklyn, 0 wins, teams down 0-2 at home as a favorite, have been a 61% clip. Now, no Draymond Green. Obviously, if I were a prayer plop, Curry's going to be all over this. So I don't even know what his assists, points, and rebounds were. But if I had to look at a player prop, I would say that over the total. I did like the under originally. Golden State has been a strong home team. They've been a strong under team at home. They've just been the opposite. They have the most dynamic home-away dichotomy in both as a favorite and over-unders from home to away. But I look at this and I think I have to lean Golden State. But the way they rebound, and without Green now, Curry's got to handle the ball more. We'll see what happens. The Draymond Green injury changed everything to me. I would have likely been on Golden State and likely been on the under with him in the game, but I'm just going to lean that way with no real strong opinion in this game on side or total.
Well, I know Veno is going to go total here, and I'll be Veno, stop me if you've heard this before. Over? I don't know. Call me crazy, but you got the best defender not going to be in this game for Golden State. Neither team is hitting enough from the perimeter. The regression to the mean is coming. Are we going to be shocked? There's no way you're looking at under in either half in this game.
Well, it would be hard to, Joe, because on top of that, Gary Payton II comes up with an illness, right? And he might be one of the one of the 3 best. You subtract Draymond and him, and really the only defender you have left on the floor is Andrew Wiggins, right? Back to Ralph's point about player props. I do like him in this game. Number one, Andrew Wiggins' points, rebounds, and assists were listed at 27.5. Last game, he had 22 points and 5 rebounds, didn't have an assist, so he got the 27. Some of those rebounds that Draymond Green collects are going to be available. He would only need one. Some of those assists that Draymond Green collects are going to be available. Wiggins probably gets a couple there. I thought 27.5 was way too low for his PRA in this game. He's starting to round it to form here. And we know how effective he can be in the playoffs because arguably, Steph was the MVP last year. Wiggins was probably their second best player on the team through the playoffs last year. So I like the Wiggins prop. To Ralph's point about Steph, over 29.5 points seems pretty easy to me. He's had 30 and 28 in the first two and hasn't really had a stellar game yet. His PRA, the whole mix, actually went up from 41.5 the other game to 43.5 for this game. So I think you can find a couple of player props in there that work for Golden State. Let's not get into conspiracy theories, but let's get into conspiracy theories. I mean, what is the NBA going to do if Golden State goes down 0-3? It's just not going to happen. I was on a show with Ski earlier today, and of course I know which way he's tilted in this game, but we're looking at the referees, and I said Eric Lewis, Kevin Scott, and Sean Corbin. It's basically a neutral crew until you get a directive from the NBA to not be so neutral. And I just feel like Golden State will get calls at home tonight. It's impossible to see the NBA without Golden State advancing around here, or at least not making this a 7-game series ratings-wise. So for the conspiracy theorists out there, you got to find a way to play Golden State in this game. They don't have to win by 6. The NBA just needs them to win a game here. But if you like full game, I can't talk you off. If you like first quarter, they have not been a first quarter ATS team, but that was regular season. And Sacramento hasn't been a good first quarter team either. In fact, they struggle first quarter, first half all season long. It's the second half when the Kings do a lot of their damage. So I could see some plays here, Joe, on the Golden State side and on those two player props that I mentioned, Wiggins and Curry. Total here, what's it up to, like 241? That's kind of tough. But again, if you want to play team totals, Golden State's going to have to outscore these guys. And I don't think there's any way Sacramento's just showing up with 94 points tonight. So for Golden State, if you want to find a way to play their team total, I think that's in play as well.
Yeah. Well, so what we've gotten so far, Ronald, is we've gotten Golden State hitting 32% from 3 in this series, Sacramento hitting 30. Both are around 37% for the season. Man, if they start hitting if we're getting more regression towards, positive regression, man, there's a lot of different ways we can go with this game here tonight. How are you looking at it?
Yeah, I mean, I can only look towards the Warriors and to the over. I think Draymond's like that engine for this team, right? He's the guy that kind of runs that offense for them, their half court offense. But I think without him here, I think they're probably going to have I guess the Kings are going to have a little bit of a difference in defense, right? They're not going to be able to sag off anyone and really step in front of these shooters here. So I think it's actually going to help them a little bit. I think that 32% or whatever it was is going to go up a little bit from this game specifically. Obviously, this is a spot where the Warriors should turn up and win the game here. And we just talked about in the previous game, most or pretty much every game so far in the playoffs here, the winner has covered the game. And that's kind of how I look at this one as well. I think the Warriors step up. The biggest concern with Draymond on the defensive side of the ball, I think Rob touched on it. I don't know if they're going to even really focus on the defensive side of the ball, but right now I think they're going to really just figure out how to get their offense going smoothly. And the Kings are going to have to figure out how to outscore this Warriors team. And that's going to push this one to go over the high total. But if the Warriors at home have been a lot more efficient than they have been on the road pretty much all season long. Just from a trend perspective, you look at the Warriors 13-2 straight up, 11-4 against the spread this season at home versus on the road. So they travel 13-2 straight up and 11-4 against the spread when they travel from road to home. So they travel well, even though they're in California or whatever it might be. But I think one more thing to mention too, today is actually a rare situation where the road team was a favorite in game 2 and they lost, and now they're the home favorite in game 3. This has only happened 6 times since 2002-2003 playoffs in the SDQL database. And the most recent situation was actually with the Warriors. Last season, they played against the Grizzlies in game 3 They ended up beating the Grizzlies by 30 in that game, and they flew over the closing total by almost 30 points as well. So I see a similar situation here. I think the Warriors have experience playing in this type of situation as well, and I think that's going to go in their favor. So Warriors and the over is the way to go for me.
Hey, Joe, may
Warriors,
I add
I thought you
something
were
in,
going to say
please?
today was 420 and we lost Tony Finn. But go ahead, I'm with you, Ralph. What do you got here, my man?
I went to the database while Ronald was talking. Uh, the highest ever playoff total since 2002. That is a great picture. Thanks. Thanks, Rob. Well done. The highest playoff total since 2002. So I'm going to guess it's the highest playoff total ever, unless we talk about those old Nuggets teams with the rainbow jerseys, was 241 points. That was the Wizards and the Pacers, May 20th, 2021. That game went over. But when
Ooh.
I go to the database, in the history of the database since 2002, when you look at totals of 230 or higher in the playoffs, you're only 12 and 22, so 64.7% to the under. Not that I'm saying play the under because of that. I just do want to point out the history of playoff totals this high.
Yeah, it's I love the stat here that we've got. Fantastic. Warriors at 13-2 in 420 games. Outstanding. Also, Rick brings up a good point here that somebody needs to go out and find Finn. Somebody do a welfare call, see if we can get him in here. But